knowledge. Typically, when you go and do the intern thing, they stick you in the mailroom, and they might even hire you after you spent what 90 grand getting educated, and then you got a job in the mailroom. Typically, the litmus test is they'll see if you can make it out of the mailroom within 1 year, and if you don't, then they're going to do you a favor and fire you because you're not meant for the music business. In that 1 year, you should have built enough rapport with the people in there and enough trust where they find a position for you, which would typically be a merchandiser or something like that. Those jobs are fewer, but I mean, the internet marketing seems to be the marketing department, because of everybody in here knows what a 360 deal is, and it's obvious, you know, it encompasses everything. So the departments before, I mean, they were kind of throwing the baby out with the bathwater. They would, you know, image these groups if they asked for some imaging, if they didn't have their own ideas, and they would do their artwork and their logo, and they would help them get set up on a promo tour. And now they realize they're really competing against the management companies, and they're going to do a 360 deal with people or not be that interested unless it's an obvious no-brainer. I mean, I would think when that record drops, and it'll be an easy one. I mean, the problem with this is the old adage, don't release a single until you have an album in the can. So everybody would go out and buy his single, and then if it takes 6-8 months for you to come up with a full length, sometimes it's too late. Sometimes it's too late. And you know, I remember the best example was that song "I'm Too Sexy." Remember that?
Yeah.
So it's an obvious #1 giant hit, right? And so I have a little cassette tape, and they're like, "Hey, why don't you hold off a few days before you play it for anybody?" Well, I couldn't wait to play it because I've been playing them garbage for weeks and weeks. Finally, I, you know, okay, hey, get in the car, let me play you something. And people flipped. They're like, "I want to make a copy of that cassette. I will take that cassette version and put it on the radio right now." So boom, we couldn't contain it, and it took them almost a year to come out with the full length, and it was a big who cares. So we missed, and they missed, the band more importantly missed millions in revenue. And it's too bad because that was one of those, I don't know if that's quite it right there, Justin, but yeah, wait till you have the full length in the can.
I think this kid, it's not going to be so much about the music as it is about the way he looks and the fact that he's on the Disney Channel, and he's going to have a lot of little girls chasing.
Oh, I recognize him. Hasn't he been in some TV shows already?
No, he looks like the kid off the Disney Channel, but he's on MTV right now.
Oh.
So sad.
Oh,
I'm
Zach.
a man now.
Zach and Cody, that's it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
He
what
looks
I
like the
hear
kid
now.
off the
I think
Disney
it's alright, Josh.
Yeah.
Get a minute.
Right. Yeah. He does look like that kid.
Zach.
Sweet one.
Yeah.
Sweet, that's Zach and Cody, that's it.
You know, it's like the Jonas Brothers. Girls like them because of the way they look, not so much the music itself.
Well, it wasn't new to me and you, but it's new to them. They thought it was good. I mean, there's always going to be a lot of rehash so far as style. You know, the heavy metal thing, when Motley Crue came along, I was like, you got to be kidding me. This is old news. But for the next generation coming after, you know, 8-10 years later, it was new to them. So a lot of times you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You come out with a slightly different sound. You know, it's just hard to say what the public's going to like. The best A&R people are the ones that really do have their finger on the exact pulse of what's happening, what's going to be happening.
Well, the thing that I try to explain to them is, and we discuss this every week when we were working together, is how do we connect the name to the face of the music? And this looks like a real easy one to do it with. You didn't remember the guy's name, but you remember the track and you knew what he looked like. So, okay, so now they got to do a little bit of work on the name, because the name is not the easiest thing to remember. But
JB.
Yeah, there you go. My daughter will remember. I can tell you that.
right, but that's going to be the tougher link to the puzzle.
Yeah. It is the hard thing to do, and if you don't, I mean, the easiest thing in the world is once you have, like the American Idol thing. I mean, you know, you have so much exposure, people have you know, a connection with them. So it makes it so easy, and I think that most of the music that comes out of there is garbage. And for me, the art is in the actual song itself. Just as in Hollywood, I mean, it's all about, for me, and it takes many parts to be successful, but at the end of the day, it's about telling good stories. And so, and we talked about that last year. I mean, it was a a thing that Jeffrey Katzenberg from SKG did. It was a 25-page memo that he released, went all over Hollywood. I mean, it was just a memo he wrote for Disney, and everybody picked this thing up and they're like, this is the most profound thing on many different levels. One of the things that I held on to was that it's, you know, the idea is king. It's all about the story, and it's the same thing in the music business. Is that yes, you have to have somebody that can sing, that sings well and interprets it well, and you have to have promotion, you have to have timing and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, if it's a great song, that cures cancer. So here's your clock right here. This is typically where records go into rotation. Then from 6 to 9, the morning drive, or 6 to 10, most of them do 6 to 10. That's the sweet spot right there. That's where advertisers will pay the most amount of money. That's where you want your exposure. Unfortunately, that's where they do all that happy talk jibber jab. I mean, I don't know if you could do, who in here listens to the radio? One, so about half the people. I know you aren't listening to Morning Drive, but anyway, that's the. Are you listening to Morning Drive?
That's the only time I listen to radio. The rest of the time I'm on Sirius and XM.
Really? So there's a morning show you like here?
Yeah, it's 97.9. Sorry. They're just funny.
Are they? Okay. Well, increasingly they're talking more and more in that spot, and that's what they figured out. They figured it out at MTV a long time ago. They go, you know, every time we play a video that people don't like, boom, they change the channel. And it's the same thing in the morning. You play a song they don't like, they move on. But typically, dialogue between a couple people holds people for the longer average quarter hour. It's such a thing that advertisers focus in on. So anyway, from 9 to noon right there, the middays, people are listening in the office or maybe still coming in late to the office or school. They typically get a little more mellow right there. They become more familiar. Depending on the type of song you have, you might get your shot there. Same thing from 12 to 3, and then you have afternoon drive, which is obviously just like morning drive, is a really, it's a great day part. That's what they call these, is day parts. And you pay almost as much for afternoon drive. So typically the highest paid disc jockeys are the morning drive, and second is the afternoon drive. And when you buy advertising, you typically get what they call a run of schedule, where they'll give you the bulk in overnights and evenings, and then a few in morning drive and a few in afternoon drive, unless you specifically say, I want that particular day part, and you'll pay probably about $2,000 for a 60-second spot. And I talked to you more about the advertising, because a lot of, you know, there are some, well, there's only one, Cumulus, that demands that if, now they're not going to play anything just because you're supporting it, but if you get records played, you get a song played on a Cumulus station, you're going to support it with either advertising or something else that is mutually beneficial. You know, it could be print, it could be T-shirts, but there are all these rules and regulations now that say, that dictate what the two parties have to do to make it a an arm's length, you know, clear transaction. So anyway, you work your day parts, and that's the big argument you have every week, is you have the new music that you're trying to get on the radio, and then you have to work the rotations for everybody. Typically you get one shot a week at talking to these people. So you'll have your Monday through Friday and each hour slotted, and you organize each hour of the week with who is accepting phone calls. So it'll typically be a 2-hour window that Z100 in New York will talk to you on the phone. And there's 40 people trying to get a hold of them. Trades, you know, consultants, indies, promotion, national, regional, local promotion people. Everybody's trying to get in touch with them during those hours. So my suggestion is the way you get around that is, if you're a really successful promotion person, you find the 4 or 5 or 6 really important clients and really tighten up with those people. And it typically takes time. It takes time. You have to spend, you know, relationships are going in one of two directions. They're either getting better or they're getting worse. So to make them better, you spend time with them.